In this video here, I talked about how we were already in World War III. I also talked about how many of the countries that you would think are our allies are not. I have in other videos talked about how Israel, the very small country that it is, has controlled the United States through the Jeffrey Epstein Island ring by ensnaring politicians, judges, and stars. Dr. Steve Piesnik is saying the same thing. And he's no slouch. He went to Ivy League schools and was the Deputy Assistant Secretary of State under Henry Kissinger. So when this guy talks, we listen. Henry Kissinger was a mega deep stater, and so that makes what Dr. Steve Piesnik says even more impactful. I've been sent this video. We're going to check it out and see what he says.
Hi, this is Dr. Piesnik. I want to talk about the Epstein ring. What it really is a Mossad Israeli operative ring, which goes back decades and decades, all the way to the time even where the Liberty ship was attacked by Israeli planes, unmarked Israeli planes, during the Six-Day War, and Israel said they didn't do it. Well, that was a lie. Israel has not been our greatest ally. It's been our greatest enemy. They were also involved in 9/11 and the Standout Wall, for which this deputy confirmed that to me. Israeli Mossad operatives who I interrogated and threatened confirmed that to me, and I put away 2 Mossad operatives. The key to this Epstein problem is the fact that it goes back decades. Jeff Epstein was picked out by the Mossad as the proper agent of influence because, number one, he was grandiose. 2, he had some intelligence, but came from a poor Jewish background, had no real education, did not speak a foreign language, and was so narcissistic that they could manipulate him up and down and create a false front for him, which involved the fact that he had multi-million dollars or multi-billion dollars. He may have no money. It's not even relevant. But to make sure that Jeffrey Epstein was working properly, they had an operative from the Mossad who was named Maxwell, the daughter of Robert Maxwell, one of the greatest crooks in the world, who was an Israeli Mossad operative. When he died in 1991, he was either killed or he died. He was one of the biggest contributors to Israeli national security of anybody else. So his daughter was the control operative of Jeff Epstein. At the same time, we had Nexium in New York City, which was run by a non-Jew named Renier, but controlled by 2 Jewish women, the Bronfman family. And they, in turn, were propagating. Now, why is so lethal? From an intelligence point of view, from my point of view, as an intelligence operative and a counterintelligence operative, one of the most disgusting things that you can do in the intelligence world is to double you up or co-opt you through the use of a honey trap, but not only an adult honey trap, but when you use it, you pretty much terrorize that so that you know anybody who's gotten involved with cannot speak out, the can't say anything, and it's a legitimate way to denigrate both the operative and the problem itself. Nevertheless, the Mossad incurred so many operatives that were involved with under the Epstein ring and under the Nexium ring with the 2 Bronfman daughters that you're talking about thousands of people. Now, it also goes all the way up into the presidency. It goes into the Bush family, Bush Jr., Jeb. It goes into Clinton's, as we know, Hillary, Bill Clinton, who's a pathological liar to the nth degree, to Obama, who had a history of homosexuality, and all the way down to the Bushes and beyond that. So what the Israelis did under the tutelage of 2 brilliant Mossad chiefs, Halevi and Yatom, both of whom used as a honey trap to encapsulate any one of our operatives in America. Jeff Epstein was a willing operative. He willingly was involved in The Israelis knew that. They created his storyline. They made believe he was a billionaire. Wexner was the theoretical backup man to him. And ironically, he was in Bear Stearns, which was another corrupt Jewish firm that went under, along with Drexel Burnham, another corrupt Jewish firm. So we have a lot of corruption here, which goes all the way back to 9/11, when we had Jews like Silverstein, who had the lease to the World Trade Center. We had Lowry. We had Lauder. And we had Eisenberg, all of whom were involved in the stand down and the false flag of 9/11. So from 9/11 on, Trump understood that the Israelis had been involved in our intelligence service and in compromising America. He never forgot that. And what he did blatantly was to turn around, and on a certain day, he decided he was going to indict every one of the Mossad operatives, as well as the Israelis, on charges of, not on charges of spying, because that wouldn't work. But Acosta, the Secretary of Labor, was correct when he said that Epstein got off of the prosecutor's indictment in Florida because he worked in the intelligence service. Now, it's not only the Mossad that's involved. Clearly, the CIA was involved, and it was the old CIA and not the present CIA. Why do I say that? Because the heroes of this picture is not only Trump and the White House, but it really involves what I consider to be my deep state, which is what I've talked about for 20 years, the people at the NSA, the NRO, the NGA, the CIA, the new CIA, and other intelligence organizations, which blew this operation apart over the past 10 to 20 years, because in their NSA sweep of our telephones, or the metadata as they called it, they had picked up Israeli compromises all over the United States and in the world. What we have now is a real problem with Israel. And Israel had been placed on notice because our ambassador, the Jewish ambassador there, as well as Kushner, have made a very clear statement. Israel, you're on notice. If you do not make a peace treaty with the Palestinians, there will be more serious repercussions than you imagine. The beginning of the takedown of your Mossad operatives, who were all present, and we will put them in prison, is just the beginning of what we can do to the future of Israel. Now, as a Jew, I am not proud what American Jews have done. For the most part, I find them to be arrogant, ignorant, totally devoid of any world culture, totally devoid of understanding what happened to us in the Holocaust, totally devoid of understanding what Israel is really about. And it isn't the sanctimonious state that people think it is, because I was there in the 1980s when they created Hamas. I was there when the generals were terrorizing Palestinians and the Intifada was created. But let me quote to you my rabbi, and it turns out to be a family member, Soloveitchik, who said, in order to be a good Jew or a good human, you have to follow the righteous way and avoid evil. Thank you and good night.
Wow, that was heavy. That was heavy, heavy stuff there. Yes, so I have talked about this, how other nations can control the United States, both Britain and Israel can control the United States this way. He explains how they do it, why they do it, and why it is so successful. This has been going on for a while now. He also explains why they chose Epstein, and so he also said something I suspected, that Ghislaine Maxwell was his controller. And I believe it. When you look at her background, she was the daughter of the Maxwell. He owned a newspaper in Great Britain, and he was a real shady character. Stole millions of dollars from that newspaper's pension plan, all that kind of stuff, and then ended up disappearing off a boat. So we don't know if he crossed somebody and got dealt with, or if he pulled a I'm passed away maneuver and took off. So there it is. That's pretty heavy stuff. He also mentioned the USS Liberty. I discussed that in my World War III video, about how Israel has done acts of war, things that the United States would declare war on them in a second. They've done things like shooting the USS Liberty in the late 60s. So there you go. Tell me what you think about this video, and we will see you on the next Ultra Top Secret.